This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 305.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. Oh, sad, but truthfully, there are no WordCamps next weekend. It's the first of the year, first weekend of the new year. Happy New Year, by the way. Actually, this is the last show. We'll talk about that in a minute of this year. But yeah, no WordCamps, so check out meetup.com to see if there's a meetup next to you or near you. Go to that or start one, like I always say, and we'll see you at WordCamps in 2020 once they start getting back on the calendar. All right, moving on, segment one in the news. Again, light part of the year, light news-wise. But one thing I wanted to share with you was that version 1 prototype of the WordPress admin block directory has been announced. Mel Choice Dwan did share the first version of the admin block directory prototype. The design team over at make.wordpress.com is working on that. The goal is to get that directory to the admin in WordPress 5.5, which is on track and set to be released August of 2020. That's the roadmap, at least. So we're still got like 8 months away before that version of WordPress comes out. So there'll be a link in the show notes. You can follow along there. Is that it in the news? That is it in the news, like I said, kind of a end of the year type of thing. So moving on to the meat potatoes, but first, a message from this week's sponsor.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I've been running my brick and mortar store for over 5 years now, and things are going really well. But I'm ready to take things to the next level, and I'm pretty sure that means an online store. But going online scares me. Same for you, right? It doesn't matter how small or large of a company you are, there are a lot of things to consider. From buying a domain, picking hosting, and having reliable support, it can be overwhelming. So where do you start? Lucky for me, a friend told me about SiteGround.com. Getting the correct hosting package for my needs and setting up the site was super easy. And there were no hard upsells on things I didn't need. And SiteGround's documentation made everything really easy to understand, removing any confusing terms. And since I'm selling online, they suggested implementing an SSL certificate, which protects my customers' information. And get this, they even configured it for me. When I did have a question, live support was available immediately and is available 24/7. Now that's cool. So when you're ready to take your business online, check out SiteGround.com. You won't be disappointed.
And once again, thanks to SiteGround for sponsoring this week's episode. By all means, if you want to help support the show, you can do that by going over to KitchensinkWP.com/SiteGround. And, that helps us out a little bit. So awesome. Thanks. All right, moving on. Segment 2, the meat and potatoes. This week, I want to talk about after the inquiry on a custom development submission. So on episode 292, just a few weeks back, I talked about the 5 different types of forms you could or should have on your website. And from that, I may have mentioned that I created a new form for the website over at Concierge WP for custom development. And that form had many more questions than my initial contact form or even the interest about a general project form about maintenance. And that new form has more questions, like I said, but it's not overwhelming, in my opinion. It's a fine line. You have to balance things out. The key questions being budget, time frame, sites I like the look of, their overall goals, what success looks like to them, a deeper dive, if you will, that they take the time to fill out. And the reason for this form, for the client to do it, is twofold, in my opinion. Number one, if they take the time to answer the questions in detail, to me, that indicates they are serious. It kind of pre-qualifies them as well, because in there, I have a drop down about their budget and their turnaround time. So there's that. Number two, in theory, I could then take their comments and their form and then turn around a proposal just from those answers. But of course, when it comes to custom development work and websites, there is often many more things to the project than just a single form can handle. There's that relationship, there's that trust, the understanding and alignment of goals. So, but what do you do then what's the process once they give you that information? You have a ton of data now, potentially some emails back and forth. But what if all the information isn't all that great, or it's missing information? Like what if they didn't really know what to fill in there because they just don't know and they need more guidance? So I've realized that there are still things to do once you get the information. I was hopeful when I created that form a few months back that would solve all the problems, but it didn't. It just made me ask more questions. So here are the 5 things that I'm implementing to do upon receiving what I call a serious inquiry. Okay. Number 1, the first thing I'm doing is reviewing it. And you should do the same thing. Review the form yourself, not just a glance, not just like, okay, great, they gave me information, but really look it over. Think about it. Take a few hours, take a day even, and then print out a hard copy, which I think is crazy to say out loud sometimes, but then you can take notes on it. You can highlight, you can annotate it, if you will, right? Because you need to know more information from the client, and there's nothing wrong with digging deeper. So first, print it out, review it, and kind of just take time to really get to know exactly what they're saying, at least on paper. Okay. The second thing you need to do then, of course, is schedule a call, a Zoom, a meeting in person. Depending on the client, location, and yourself, this option will vary how you're going to do it. But give yourself time, at least an hour, maybe 90 minutes. And, when it's scheduled, it's assuming it's a few days in the future. Here's a little PS for you. Set a reminder to yourself to send them a reminder about the meeting that's upcoming. Because there's nothing worse, trust me, there's nothing worse than when a client books a time with you and then you call or you reach out via Zoom and you log in and they're not there. They forgot or they got busy, they got sidetracked. So I now have a process that I send a reminder email. Now, if you pay for certain services, like Calendly has this, if you pay for the certain level and the appointment's there, it will send out the reminder for you. But if it's not there, you need to do it manually. And it's not that hard. It takes, all of a minute to do. But schedule that call, plan 60 to 90 minutes. It's going to be some time. But again, these projects in my mind are worth it because they've pre-qualified. I know their budget from the get-go, at least what they're thinking their budget is. Okay. Third thing here. Ask questions. Clarify everything. And I mean everything. Talk about timelines, milestones, the tech used for communication, whether it be Asana, Trello, or Slack, frequency of communication, payment schedules, anything that you can think of to bring up. And take, I'm going to say it this way, take control of the meeting. You own this meeting. It needs to be yours completely because they're coming to you for a reason. You are the expert. So ask a ton of questions and clarify everything. 3A, actually, real quick, is follow up with an email right away saying, hey, we talked about this, and I will then get you something shortly. Okay, so that leads to number 4. Review your updated notes sooner versus later. It's fresh in your mind. You could always, you could record the conversation in audio format only. Whether you want to tell them or not, that's up to you. Legalities there, that's up to your own state as well. But do it sooner than later, then put together the proposal and send it. Ideally, you've set a time frame with them so they know when to expect it. If you say it's going to be to you and them in 48 hours, get it to them in 48 hours. Keep to that date or be early. Being late on that date is not ideal. It happens, but it's not a good way to start a business relationship. The worst thing one of the worst things is like, I'm sorry, this is delayed. So-and-so, something happened. They're itching to go. They're ready to go. They've taken the time of their day and their business week, and they are ready to get going here as well. So take that to heart that it's important to them because they want to get going here. So get it to them sooner than later. And number 5, finally, it's okay to turn it down. If you know what they want is not in alignment with your business at this time, take a pass. If that's the case, do it sooner than later. And maybe at the beginning of the call or even before the call. Back in episode 264, I spoke about saying no to clients and holding your ground. The short version of that episode, sooner versus later. If you know ahead of time, if they say my budget, if it's the right budget but the wrong type of project or you don't have the experience in it, you could dilly-dally around. You can kind of maybe feel them out. But the sooner you know, if you have a gut feeling, go ahead and say, you know what, right now, it's not in alignment. It's not in our best interest to work on this project. Maybe give them a referral, etc. Most recently, we actually turned down a project, a small project, but after doing this whole process, I had the call, I gave them a proposal, and then at the end of the day, the client actually gave us an opportunity to walk away, which was weird, but it was the right thing for me to do. So we said no. We gave them a referral, and they're happy. So there's that. Again, number 1, here's the 5 things. Review the form submission yourself. Really write things down. Schedule a call. Take the time that you need to get it done right. Ask tons of questions. Review your new notes. Get them a proposal earlier versus later. And it's okay to say no to it. It really is. You have to keep that in mind. Because you want to use your time the best way possible. If you say yes to everything, then you're saying no to something else that might be a better project in general, right? So keep that in mind. All right. That is it for the meat and potatoes. Moving on to segment 3. the tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's a tool actually. It's called Tamper Monkey. It's over at tampermonkey.net. It's a Chrome extension, I think for also other web browsers. It makes it an easy way to manage user scripts and provide features like clear overview, running scripts. It's for developers, really. And I think Dustin actually told me about this. They use it a lot in testing sites they might have access to. They can run a script from the front end that won't affect the actual long-term longevity of a website. It's kind of like changing the CSS on a website that you don't have access to. You can see how things work. So tampermonkey.net. It's pretty cool. It's free. So check that out if you're interested in that. All right, let me wrap it up. If you have any questions, go ahead and send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use the speak pipe function on the website. You can support the show by becoming a Patreon. You can sponsor the show by being a sponsor. There's a form on the website. And with this being the last episode of the year and the decade, I just want to say thank you so much for being out there, listening, letting me into your devices, your ears. I appreciate it. I really do. I hope 2019 has been a good year for you, and I hope that you have a great 2020. If there's anything I can do to help you in the upcoming year, by all means, let me know, and I mean that. I wouldn't be here without you guys. So awesome. Anyway, go out and do some awesome things with WordPress, and we'll see you next year. All right, bye-bye.